Can I just sit with you all for a minute? I'm having a lot of anxiety about tomorrow, and I know a lot of you are too. So I just wanted to share some of my thoughts if you'd like to sit with me and listen. It's March 22nd, 2026, around 11 p.m. East Coast time as I'm making this video. And I think getting some sleep tonight is going to be really difficult because we have two major things that we know are happening tomorrow. Number one, ICE agents are going to be deployed to airports across the United States tomorrow. This regime that we live under does not have a plan, and things are for sure going to get messy. And that is unsettling and it is scary. And it is normal to feel that anxiety and even some fear. Also, tomorrow night is the 48-hour mark of Donald Trump, giving his ultimatum on Truth Social that if Iran doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz, that he will be ordering the bombing of power plants and ultimately taking out a lot of Iran's power grid. And there's a lot of things that come with that, a lot of feelings that come with that, and that's normal. And when I get to this point where I don't have a solution, where I feel like I'm kind of drowning in that anxiety, I tend to put myself back into my teacher days. And I think about what would I tell students in this moment? Because as a teacher, I never lied to my kids. I never omitted things for my kids. But I always knew that there had to be a message within that moment, good, bad, or ugly. So I think about February 15th, 2018, day after Marjorie Stoneman Douglas high school shooting in Florida. And I was teaching in Florida as well, and I was teaching fourth grade. So these kids were older. They had seen the news, they had seen what had happened, they heard the gunshots on videos, they saw police officers clearing, classrooms and things. They knew that students and teachers had died. And I went into school that morning knowing that there would be a lot of questions and probably a lot of fear as well. And so I started my day differently than I usually did. And we just sat down together and I asked them, like, is there anything you want to talk about? Do you have any questions? If you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to, but I just want there to be this space to talk about it if we want to as a class. And there was one girl that I'll never forget. She raised her hand and she said, is that going to happen here? And that was probably the hardest question a kid has ever asked me. And I knew I couldn't promise them that it wouldn't happen there. That would just be, imagine a moment where, the worst thing that can happen at a school happens and these students in their last moments look at me and say, you promised. So I said, listen, I can't promise that bad people won't come and do bad things. I kind of explained that this is not something that happens a lot. They didn't need to know all the details of like school shootings are pretty frequent. So I explained, that this was an incident that happened that doesn't happen often and that I can't stop bad people from doing bad things. But what I can do is I can promise that I will always put your safety first. And I talked to them about the school and how doors were locked and what certain procedures we had in place and why we do certain things. And that was kind of the end of the conversation. And I think the kids, they knew that this was a very real thing that could happen, but they also knew that people cared about them and people would do whatever it took to keep them safe. And I think that is what we have to take away in this moment of fear and unknown or anxiety, is that like we don't know what is going to happen and we don't know if something is going to happen, but we can know that there are people in this country that care about us and vice versa. It might not be everyone, but there is a massive group of people, millions and millions of people who think like we do, who care like we do, who want change like we do. And while I cannot promise that something awful will happen tonight or tomorrow or 2 weeks down the road, what I can promise is that those numbers matter and there is strength in numbers and that we are in this together and this is not a solo experience. And this is what this platform is for. It's not just an educational space, it's not just a place for me to report the news. It is a place to have community. So if you feel alone or scared or anxious or whatever it is you feel, please know that these comments are a place where you can say those things and someone will reach back out. I see it all the time. But yeah, now I'm just rambling, but yeah, I can't promise that something bad isn't going to happen. But I can promise there are millions of us that want to stick together and will do the right thing.